I am obsessed with this idea of inbound to outbound. And I think, literally, I don't think anyone's ever talked about this publicly. And so this idea that everyone thinks about is you post on social, you post a tweet, you post on LinkedIn, someone that's potentially in your ideal customer profile, they open up your tweet and say, wow, I want to be a Hanover customer. And then they go book a demo on your site and we do that. For where we're selling into, which is like 6-figure plus ACV, that is not typically the norm. People are not looking to book demos for new fund admins every single day. And so one thing that I've done to basically take like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel content engine on both Twitter and LinkedIn, which we can dig into, is every single person who interacts with a piece of my content is actually getting an outbound DM from me. So I call it like inbound to outbound. It's basically like, how do you take people that find your content interesting, but they're not going to take the crazy action to book time on my calendar? And how do you find those people and say like, hey, let's filter by every single venture capital fund, 100 million plus with quarterly reporting and audit requirements, which is our ideal customer profile, and then go like take those 100 people out of the 1,000 people that liked my tweet and go DM them and go book meetings from that. And so that has been something where people are focused on this like lucky come from heaven, like, you know, they're going to come and just like show up on my doorstep to give me money. We're really focused on like, how do we take warmer people that know us from content and then how do we outbound them as like a sales led engine? I'm happy to like dig into that more, but that's something that I haven't heard people talk about before.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't actually heard anyone talk about that. How do you decide out of the 1,000 people, you know, who actually like your tweet, how do you decide or determine who you're going to reach out to? And what are you saying?
Very manual. And so we basically think about, we've like productized, or like, it's not like a AI system. It's really like human system of like taking those 1,000 people, going to their bios, saying, okay, that is a venture capital fund director of finance at this firm. That person is in our ideal customer profile. Okay, let's go send them a DM. A few different ways in which it's manual of like scraping their bios and basically pulling in and saying, based on those people, there's 1,000, maybe 25 fit our ideal customer profile. So that's like piece one in terms of filtering. Piece two on the copy, few different things. One is I will send the tweet that they liked or interacted with to jog their memory of why I'm reaching out. And so like first DM, the tweet itself. Second DM is like, hey, saw you like my tweet or saw you followed, you know, I have a $100 billion vision to take on XYZ fund admin that I don't want to mention on this podcast. Do you want to chat? Or I'm crazy and I don't think you should pay 6 figures a year to not screw up your accounting. We can do XYZ. Want to chat? So like 2 to 3 lines based on a warm connection. And so that's kind of how I think about attacking it on the tactical side.
That's interesting. And from there, how many DMs do you think you're sending per week? Specifically those types of DMs?
Depends how viral it is. Like so I think this leads to, so probably in the like 100 a week. So it's not super high because our ideal customer profile, we've scoped it down where it's really like a few thousand people is who we're selling into for our first 10 million in ARR, right? It's kind of like who we're specifically thinking about. So that's kind of piece one. Piece two on, you know, how I think about like ratio of content that might drive an interaction relative to like talking about Hanover. I think like there's two completely opposite sides of the spectrum. Some people, if you look at their Twitter, they're like, I'm just going to tweet like random things that are videos and hopefully get a lot of eyeballs. That's one. The second is I'm literally going to tweet webinar links that get no engagement. That's two. I try to be like a 60-40 split. And so I think about like 60% top of funnel, meaning Elon Musk, you know, hates remote work, right? Like I think remote work is terrible. And so I agree with his take. And he, you know, that obviously got a bunch of buzz and got a bunch of engagement. That's completely top of funnel because it's unrelated to Hanover. And so 60% could be things that my ideal customer profile would find interesting. I am selling into venture capital fund GPs and directors of finance and CFOs. And so that's like piece one. The other 40% is like middle or bottom of funnel. And so like a middle of funnel tweet could be like, you know, hey, I talked to a CFO of a $1 billion venture fund and what he told me was pretty crazy, right? And so like it's talking about what we're doing without being like shilling my company, which I obviously love shilling my company, but it's not very compelling content. So that's kind of middle of funnel. And bottom of funnel would be like Hanover pitch versus legacy fund admin pitch, like a compare contrast, right? Which is like clearly talking about what we're doing. So that's kind of how I think about the breakdown on our side.